Morning, YouTube pipe smokers. Prairie Piper here with another video. This one's going to be it's going to be a tobacco review. I don't think I'll be doing a lot of tobacco reviews just because um, it's such a subjective field, tobacco reviews. What gives one person bite may not give somebody else tongue bite. What's too strong in the latakia department for one person doesn't bother the other person. But just before I go ahead with the tobacco review, I just wanted to touch on a couple things in the first video that I made. It's probably not that big of a deal, but I just wanted to point it out. I am aware that Bladder and Bladder is an artisan pipe. Patrick and his uncle Robert are the ones making the pipes today. They're handmade, all of them. Patrick makes most of them nowadays. They shut the factory down in the 70s, but when I was talking about Brigham and Bladder being two of the oldest continuous, pipe um, pipe factory pipe manufacturing companies in North America, I am aware Bladder and Bladder is no longer a no longer a factory pipe. It's an artisan pipe. And I know Michael Parks doesn't live in Toronto, and I said that just he lives an hour and a half away. I think it's in Bowmanville, Ontario, which is just past Oshawa. Anyways, just kind of had to get that out of the way. I realize it might have not bothered anybody, but making these videos is not as easy as it looks. So without further ado, let's get into the tobacco review. I'm going to be reviewing all of the kind of Brigham's flagship tobaccos, the 610s of the Heritage series. The Heritage series was started in 2010, was originally called the D series, stand for Dunhill series. So Brigham had kind of caught wind, and I guess they've sort of figured out that Dunhill is not going to be in the tobacco business much longer. So let's put out, let's take their top 6 blends and get a great blender to mimic the 610s, right? So the 6 were Early Morning Pipe, Elizabethan Mixture, 965, Nightcap, Royal Yacht, and Dunhill Flake. And that was in 2010, originally called the D series. That eventually morphed into the Legend series. So the Legend series is Maritime Morning, Acadian Blend, Heritage Blend, Aurora Borealis, Hudson's Bay, and Klondike Gold, which is cool because they're distinctly Canadian names, right? Rather than the original names they had from D series were like Rise and Shine, Tudor Mixture, The Mixture. So they gave them a distinctly Canadian flavor, which I think is cool, and the tin art was really cool too. So that was the D series in 2010, eventually amalgamated, morphed into the Legend series. They're only available in Canada, not Europe nor the US. They were at one time available in the US, again, that might come back, but currently only available in Canada. So you might ask yourself, why are you doing a tobacco review if they're only available in Canada, which is quite a small market? Fair enough. But I live in Canada, and it is, a good portion of my content is going to be for Canadian pipe smokers, but it's also just for people to, visit. If you're coming over from Europe or coming up from the U.S. and you want to get hold of one of these blends, it's kind of something that we have on our side of the border that's special, right? Unlike all the limited releases that are done in Europe and the U.S. that we can't get unless we drive over the border or import them, which we can, but then we get nailed with duty. And it's just going to be a fun review. I think you'll find some interesting things, even though it's not available in Europe or the US. I think you'll just find some interesting history on it. So, for example, the the Legend series is all made in 2010, was made by Kohlhase and Kopp. So, very reputable uh, tobacco manufacturer. I love Kohlhase and Kopp. I guess it's just Kopp now, but it's still produced there to this day. It still comes from Kopp from Germany. And also, interestingly enough, the blend was created. So The D series, which became the Legend series, was blended by Rudigar Will, or Rudigar Will, you say in German. He was responsible. He's a German master blender, well respected all over Europe and all over the world. He created Solani, and he created the Reiner line of tobacco. And I think he nailed a lot of these Dunhill blends, these imitation Dunhill blends. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see what we have. So the first one that I'm doing is going to be the Dunhill Mixture 965. This has Latakia, Orientals, and Black Cavendish. The Legend, it's the series version of that, is the Heritage Blend. And the Heritage Blend has Latakia, Orientals, and Brown Cavendish. What's the difference between brown and black Cavendish, you ask? Not a lot, I don't think. Black Cavendish is usually burley based, and it's in the US. And brown Cavendish is black Cavendish. I guess in England and some places in Europe they call it brown Cavendish. But if it's black Cavendish or brown Cavendish from Europe, which it is, it's Virginia based. So I couldn't find if the original tin of Dunhill had black or brown Cavendish. Well, actually, it really doesn't matter because it's made in Europe either way. So it's going to be the Virginia-based Cavendish. Because whether it was STG or Kohlhase and Kopp that's did the imitation blend. So that's what we're doing. It's a ribbon blend, but with the chunks of Latakia, it's kind of like a rough cut, kind of chunky. I will show you a picture of that after. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to smoke the Legend, the Heritage Blend, the first in the Legend series, the Heritage Blend, which is, like I said, it's the clone to my Mixture 965 and blended by Rudigar Will or Vil, and made by K&K, today just Kopp. So I can't do a tin note because I already opened it up. Been smoking this all week, so I think I got a pretty good handle on it. So let's just get a jar note, tin note here. This is also highly subjective, people smelling tobacco, which, because a lot of the times it doesn't taste like it smells, so I don't even know why you bother doing this, but this one is an exception, so that's why I'm smelling it. And I'll be honest with you, I think we all smell our tobacco. Just for part of the experience, maybe part of the ritual, but like I said, a lot of the tobacco does not taste like it smells. So basically you get smoky sweetness, the richness. That's it. I'm not going to delve into highly complex. I'm not going to deep dive into every shred of tobacco in here, what it smells like and how it mingles with the rest. It smells savory. It's a sweet smoke. It's smoky, sweet. It's very nice. It's very pleasant. Some might say possibly too sweet. And this actually does, taste as it smells. One of the few exceptions, like I said, a lot of the tobacco, at least in my experience, does not taste like it smells. Packs pretty easy, which I like. I use big bowls, so this is going to be like an hour. I'm not going to obviously keep this going for an hour. This is my, now this pipe only comes out at Christmas, but it came out this week because I needed a bigger pipe. I typically smoke more Latakias in the fall and the winter. This is fourth generation Eric Stokeby pipe of the year. Nice looking pipe. Really, really sharp looking pipe. And a very, very nice band that says, if you can see that or not, fourth generation on there. You can kind of, nice looking pipe. Okay, so let's get this going. There's two things that I look for personally when I am sampling tobaccos or looking for new blends. I want a consistency in the burn rate, and I want a consistency of flavor. Right? Obviously, you want it to burn from top to bottom. You know, ideally, into a nice dusty ash. And you want the flavor to be consistent from the top of the bowl to the bottom, for me at least, anyways. This accomplishes that, so I've kind of got this on high marks. So, some tobaccos start off great, like, oh, it's sweet, savory. And then halfway through the bowl, when you got a pile of ash on top, that it's started to change the flavor profile. Now, in some cases, you can dump the ash out, do kind of a relight again, a rechar relight, and get that flavor back. As we'll find out, you can light this once and smoke it right to the bottom. It's got an amazing consistency in burn, and it's got an amazing consistency in its flavor from top to bottom. And that, to me, that's what I look for. There's not a lot of tobaccos that can do that. I'm pretty anal about how I light my pipe, so this might take a few minutes. I do have a coffee here, black coffee, which I normally wouldn't drink coffee. I normally wouldn't drink coffee when I'm trying out a new tobacco. I've been smoking this all week. And because coffee can really mute taste of a tobacco or anything. It can enhance it as well, but if I was trying this for the first time, I wouldn't be drinking coffee. But I've had this before. I've been smoking it all week, and it does go good with coffee. So as you can see, a lot of voluptuous, thick smoke. And it is a thick smoke. It's not like a meaty smoke. It's not a meaty smoke, kind of like HH Old Dark Fired, where that's like you can chew on that. That shit's like it's like Guinness. It's thick. It's a meal in its own. This is a nice, thick, heavy smoke, but not the kind you can chew on. Not like heavy Kentucky. It's just very pleasant. It's smoky and sweet. Top quarter of the bowl, it's just smoky and sweet, and it's very nice. Not overly complex, but there's a lot of times I don't. Actually, most of my tobaccos are not overly complex. I don't like overly complex tobaccos. They're nice as a treat, but I just want to sit down and I don't want to analyze. I just want to sit, meditate, and remove myself from the world for a while. That's one of the reasons I love pipe smoking and cigar smoking so much. I don't want to struggle to taste every little component. That's just me. It's also one of those latakias. It's a dry latakia. It's a dry smoke. And what I mean by that is it's not oily, like Old Ironsides, Den Tobacco, or say maybe Gaslight, by GOPs. It's a dry, woodsy, sweet smoke, not an oily Latakia smoke, which I like, but it's not like tar-like and oily. I can't, nicotine for me essentially doesn't affect me, so I can't really gauge. You'll have to smoke it and see if it's, some people find it, kind of on the medium to potentially heavy side for nicotine. Nicotine doesn't bother me, so not a, I'm not a good judge of that to tell you whether or not it's a heavy nic hit. Creamy as well, as you kind of get down to that, towards that bottom of the bowl. Um, you still have that dry, smoky sweetness. Kind of turns into kind of rounds the edges. It's a creamier, as it starts to burn through. This will be an hour. I'm obviously not going to shoot this for an hour, but it kind of starts to, I say settle down. Not that it starts like raggedy and jagged the edges. It doesn't. It starts sweet and smoky, but you kind of start to get a little bit more cream towards it, and towards the middle of the bowl, and it starts to kind of all blend together just a little bit better because it's been burning for 15 or 20 minutes. It's a soft smoke too. It doesn't have rough edges. It's just smooth and soft, velvety, um, very enjoyable. But I'll smoke this for a little while longer and then come back and I guess kind of give you my closing thoughts on this. We're back. Um, it's just smoking this for another 15, 20 minutes. And again, the consistency is unbelievable. I'm half hour into this and it tastes almost identical, but it's grown a little bit more creaminess on it, like I said. If you lightly sip on it, you can kind of pull a little bit more sweetness out of it. But overall, it's an enjoyable smoke. I'm going to stock up on this stuff. I actually think it might be better than the original. Um, so I don't get any tongue bite from this. I do think you need to dry it out. And I say that, I think most tongue bite comes from people not properly drying out their tobacco. I know a lot of guys like it, wet or semi-wet, or at least from what I've seen on YouTube and talking to guys. I like my tobacco dry. Russ Ouellette, who I highly respect, I love a lot of his blends, and GLPs, they both say that tobacco should be smoked on the drier side. I tend to agree with them, and so does my palate. I think Shane Ireland, I've seen some of his videos, and he says if you dry it out too much, you lose some of the oils on it and some of the flavoring. That might be true, but I've never found that to be the case. And if it was, I don't have a discerning palate to that degree that I could tell you what flavors I'm missing. So it doesn't give me tongue bite, but that might not mean jack shit to you. I like to dry it out. And I don't mean crispy, but just leave it out for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Depends, like, I don't like wet tobacco. So your tobacco really should not be wet or even like moist, at least in my opinion. I would smoke this throughout the day. I'm not going to tell you should smoke this in the morning with a coffee, or you should smoke this, it's a heavier, thicker smoke. Smoke it at the end of the day, after a meal. Smoke it whenever the fuck you feel like it. Okay? Smoke whenever you want, man. Um, the only blends that I would caution against maybe smoking first thing in the morning, or is like, old dark fired, or anything old dark fired. Any heavy pure burley or dark fired Kentucky, you might want to avoid that in the morning. Otherwise, smoke whenever you want, man. Smoke whatever you want, whenever you want. That's what I do. Um, so what we're gonna do, I guess, in closing, I'm gonna stock up on this. Blended by Rudigar Will. blender for Solani and Reiner. High quality tobacco made by K&K Kopp now. This is a fantastic blend. It's high quality tobacco. It burns from top to bottom and it maintains a flavor profile while it's burning from top to bottom into ash. It's fantastic. I'll sit here for an hour smoking this and it tastes the same from the top of the bowl to the bottom of the bowl. It goes into dusty ash. Fantastic. Canadians, stock up on this. Europeans, Americans, South Americans, whomever's visiting Canada that's a pipe smoker, I suggest you check out a tin of this if you like the original Dunhill 965. Now, what I'm going to do is compare the Heritage blend to the actual STG Peterson blend today. I do have an older original tin of Dunhill, but it's got a number of years on it, so it's probably not a fair comparison, but I've cracked this open. I've got some drying. I'm going to finish this, load up my bowl with the Peterson, and we'll see if there's a difference in flavor. I like STG, so I'm expecting a lot of this. I have smoked this before, but I've never done a direct comparison with the Heritage blend. So I'll pause this again, finish my pipe, load up with the Peterson, my mixture, and we'll see how close it is to the Legends Heritage blend by Brigham. So I've been smoking the Peterson, my mixture now, for a good half hour. And quite a different smoke, I have to say. I'm surprised. So I smelt the tin of Peterson and I smelt the tin of Heritage blend. And they're similar. I mean, they're not drastically different. The Heritage blend smells a little more pungent. But the major difference too is when you dump them out side by side and you look at the components. I don't think the lighting is good enough in here for me to show you, but take my word for it. There's a lot more lighter leaf in the Peterson 965 than there is in the Heritage blend. The Heritage blend is darker, way more darker bits. So it has more Cavendish and more Latakia, I would say, and that is coming out in the smoke. It tastes the same, but it feels like a lighter version. It doesn't actually feel like it's rich and full-bodied. It's a good smoke, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it. If you gave me this on the streets, I'd say, hey, try this smoke, and be like, this is a nice blend. It is a nice blend. But smoking it back to back from the Heritage blend to the Peterson, the Heritage blend is a heavier smoke, it's a thicker smoke, and there's more Latakia in it. It's more smoky. The Peterson is lighter, creamier, and even the smoke itself, the mouthfeel of the smoke is lighter. Nice smoke. Burns the same consistency. But like I said, I'm kind of surprised. I like full-bodied, heavy tobaccos. I prefer rich and heavy, strong. By strong, I mean taste strong, rich tobaccos. So I can tell you easily, I'm all over this Heritage blend as a replacement. This does it for me. It's smokier, it's thicker, it's richer. Now I'm kind of curious to open up my tin at Dunhill to see what that tastes like. But I suspect, by all accounts, everybody online, a lot of the, Bradley from Stuff and Things, Beans 316, by all accounts, it's Spurgeon Piper. These are guys that I follow. By all accounts, the Peterson's identical to the Dunhill, so I'll take their word for it. So Brigham's version, the Legend version, Heritage blend version of my mixture 965 is different. I think it's a better different. It's stronger taste wise. Nicotine, again, that's going to be up to every individual. I can't tell you what the nicotine is going to do to you. Doesn't bother me. It's heavier, it's richer, it's more smoky. it's sweeter too. I like that. So if you want, for Canadians, if you're looking for a My Mixture 965 with a little bit more balls, a little bit more oomph, richer and tastier and fuller, try picking yourself up a tin of the Heritage Blend. I think you're going to be impressed. Try smoking them back to back. You really kind of get a sense for how much richer and fuller the Heritage Blend is versus the Dunhill version or the Peterson version. So I might crack that tin of Dunhill just to see what the difference is. Again, it's going to be toned down because it's a few years old, so I don't know if that's going to be a very accurate comparison. But the Peterson's still a great smoke. It's STG. I mean, I love STG. They make a lot of my some of my favorite brands are made by STG. So, and it's still quality tobacco. But like I said, you want something with a little bit more kick in terms of taste and flavor, full-bodied, heavy, thicker smoke. It's Heritage Blend. So, and for those of you, unfortunately, it's not available, like I said, outside of Canada. If you're ever in Canada, pick up a tin. It's $55 in Ontario at Victory Pipes and Cigars. I have some on order here in Manitoba. We pay a little bit more because our tobacco tax is higher, provincial taxes is higher. I think it might be about 65 for a tin. Yeah, so that's the review. Kind of surprised me when I started lighting up the Peterson. I expected it to be, I mean, it is similar, but it's just a little bit more airy. Not as just not as thick and rich. But again, I like them heavier and richer. So the next review, give me a sec here. Got to grab my notes. The next review, I don't know what the next video is going to be, but the next review, we're going to continue with the Legend series by Brigham here. I think the next ones I've got is the Nightcap version, which is Aurora Borealis. So that's coming, I think, in the next week to 10 days. Hopefully, maybe next week, if I'm lucky, it'll be in my local tobacco shop. I ordered some tins. So the next tobacco review will be the Legend series Aurora Borealis, which is the Nightcap version of Dunhill. So with that, enjoy the rest of your day. Prairie Piper out.